I would like to welcome you and call to order the January 28th, 2025 Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. Our guiding principles in the actions we are about to take: are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in it? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? If you would now stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we do have a published agenda this evening. Councilmember Rosapepe.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would ask for approval of the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion seconded by Councilmember Trenary for approval of the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion carries. Thank you. We can move right along. Item number 3. This is the first of 2 citizen comment periods this evening. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the council this evening, you can please make your way up and you can have your 3 minutes. And Clerk Wallace, is there anybody on the line who would like to address City Council this evening?
There's no members of the public online at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Hearing none, we will call the first citizen comment period closed. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Councilmember Trenary.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
We have a first by Councilmember Trenary, a second by Councilmember Fenton to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We have no presentations this evening, and we have no public hearings. So just like that, 3 minutes in, we're at item number 7, business items, which brings us to item A, adoption of a resolution confirming the appointment of Tim Drury as municipal judge and authorizing judicial employment agreement. And this looks like it's Director Lund.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Tim Drury has served as a municipal judge since his appointment in 2018. He has served the role effectively and has had a positive impact to the operation of the court and the larger community. Judge Drury has proposed a reduction in hours for the position from 24 to 20 per week. The city has evaluated this proposal and believes it to be in the best interests of the city. The mayor seeks the city council's confirmation of Judge Drury's reappointment for a new term beginning February 3rd, 2025, ending on December 31, 2028. The mayor has negotiated an agreement with Judge Drury for his employment as municipal judge for this term, including a prorated compensation package. By this resolution, the council would confirm Judge Drury for a new term with a reduction in weekly hours and authorize the mayor to execute the employment agreement with Judge Drury for that term.
Thank you, Ms. Lund. Councilmember Fenton.
I move to adopt a resolution confirming the mayor appointment of Tim Drury as the Port Orchard Municipal Court Judge and authorizing the mayor to execute a judicial employment agreement.
Second.
All righty, we have a motion from Councilmember Fenton, a second from Councilmember Rosapepe. Is there any discussion on this item? Councilmember Rosapepe.
I'd just like to express my appreciation for what the judge has done during his tenure here. I think he's been a real asset to the city, and we should acknowledge that, and this is a good time with his contract being renewed. I know Mark's been with Tim for a long time on Rotary and other events, and probably would echo the same. Also, I'd say, Debbie, thank you for honchoing this through, making sure that the i's are dotted and t's are crossed with the contract, especially since it's a reduction in hours, and making sure that we're still maintaining our services. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? All right. Oh, yep, Councilmember Chang.
Oh, I would just second what Councilmember Rosa Pepe said, and just add that I'm thrilled that we're able to have a judge of this caliber who actually lives in the city limits. The last one did not, and there's been like a sea change, I think, in the difference between having someone who lives in the neighborhood who is adjudicating and creating sentences. And I think he's also been very innovative in some of the policies that he's done, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, I'd probably just add on, he's also does it very judiciously with the funding that he's allocated, no pun intended, but he on a shoestring budget, so we appreciate his flexibility here. So hearing no other comments, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. This brings us to item B, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with TMG Services, Inc. for well number 8 chlorination equipment. Mr. Ryan, I believe this is you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. The city needs to install an on-site electric hypochlorite generation system at well number 8. That is a chlorinator. So this is well number 8. It is to safely add chlorine through automation to the city's water supply. The city council is considering a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with TMG Services for the chlorination equipment. The project estimate was $90,000. To comply with the procurement policies of the city, the public works staff identified qualified vendors and sent a request for proposal to 3 vendors. Only TMG Services has submitted a proposal, quoting $80,135 plus Washington sales tax, bringing the total to $87,507.42. Public Works verified that TMG Services is qualified and confirmed all procedures were followed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Ryan. Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with TMG Services, Inc. for chlorination equipment at well number 8.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion from Councilmember Ward and a second from Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Questions? Councilmember Fenton.
Yeah, this is interesting. So the chlorination just goes to well 8, is that correct?
So this particular chlorination system is just for well number 8. Each of our wells have a separate chlorination system. Some of them are older. This is the new standard. The older one failed. That was existing equipment. So crews have been batching the chlorine dosage by hand, which requires additional testing and on-site time. So this is what's occurred since the system went down. This new system will be consistent with some of our newer wells that provide all the updated telemetry so we can monitor things in real time remotely, in addition to the on-site regular visits.
No, I think that's good. My other question is, after this equipment gets installed, do our employees put the chlorine in? So these guys are just installing it, right? The new equipment?
So yes, this is an OZEC, they call it the OZEC chlorinator. So the process, and forgive my chemistry, this is, it makes the chlorine with salt. So our crews will add salt and it'll create the chlorine that is used to treat our city water system.
Because there's a process, it's kind of interesting, I think. Yeah.
Councilmember Chang.
Off the top of your head, do you happen to know how much chlorine salts are used per year? And do you know the source? Does it come from a domestic source?
I don't have the answer to that right now. I could find out.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
Anyone else? Director Ryan, I just noticed, looking at it fiscally, it says there's $95,000 in funding available in the budget. Was this something we anticipated and we had set aside, or you're going to have to cut something else later down the line?
We did anticipate this before the final budget was adopted, before the 2025 calendar year. So that's when it rose to our attention.
All right, thank you. Any last questions? Nope. Call for the question. All those in favor of adoption of a resolution approving a contract with TMG Services, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, business item C, adoption of a resolution approving the purchase of a roadside mower and tractor for the Equipment Rental and Revolving Fund 500. Director Ryan, looks like we're back at it again.
All right, thank you. So before you is a resolution that would authorize the purchase for a roadside brush cutter or a mower, but it is mostly, it is used for both. It is a brush cutter that can reach the entire road prism roadway back of ditches. The city has planned to replace the brush cutter in the 25-26 calendar year as part of the ER&R replacement program. This replacement is urgent as the current unit has been out of service since last fall. Following the city's fleet standardization policies, the preferred equipment is a John Deere mower tractor. The city is part of a cooperative purchasing agreement with Sourcewell, and Pape Machinery is the authorized local dealer for John Deere mowers. The Public Works Department has reviewed and confirmed all necessary procurement documentation and requirements. They have received a quote from Pape for $273,904.80, including taxes. So since this exceeds the $30,000 limit, it has to go in front of the City Council for authorization. This is a significant purchase. It is planned. Normally, this would have been a consent item, but because of the dollar amount, we felt it appropriate to bring it in front of the council as a business item. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ryan. Councilmember Trenary.
Mayor Pro Temp, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of a roadside mower and tractor.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Trenary and a second from Councilmember Chang. Any discussion? Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan, it says roadside mower and tractor. Is that one item?
It's
Or
so.
we purchase a tractor to haul the mower?
This is one item. It's two parts. The purchase order will include the implementation that is attached to the tractor. So this is a boom mower. So it'll come with counterweights. It's installed at the dealership. It'll have counterweights to offset the mower, and only certain mowers are approved to go with these tractors.
Councilmember Fenton.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. A riding, so it's not a riding lawnmower. It's the tractor that pulls or pushes the mower.
No, this is a self-propelled mower. I should have had a picture. No, this is you see them often on the state highways and the local roads. It will be an enclosed cab. It's the two big tractor tires in the back. It's cab. Yeah.
Pretty heavy duty, what you're saying.
It's very heavy duty. It has to be for the hydraulics needed to operate the mower. But this is one of our key tools. Last year, we weren't able to get our right-of-ways mowed. Bay Street, heading towards Gorse, was one of the areas that weren't being able to mow, but this is what we use to battle blackberries and keep we call it the foul zone or the road zone clear.
So this isn't a mower for a park,
No,
correct?
This
Right.
is
Yeah.
a roadside mower behind the guardrails.
Okay.
Councilmember Trenary.
Mr. Ryan, do you expect this to be in our workflow production this spring and summer? Will it be delivered?
We do preliminary conversations with the dealership. There is a mower available, so we're hoping that we will get this in April.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, Trenary stole my question.
Oh, okay, perfect. Any other questions for Director Ryan around the mower? All right, you'll be voting on adoption of a resolution approving the purchase of this fantastic mower tractor. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7D, approval of a collective bargaining agreement with the Port Orchard Police Guild for the 2025-2027. Director Lund.
Thank you again. It's a pleasure to bring this item to you tonight. The contracts between the city and the Police Guild representing patrol officers and the Police Guild representing sergeants expired December 31st, 2024. The city and representatives from the Guild have been meeting since October to negotiate a successor agreement. The proposed agreement combines the two contracts into one collective bargaining agreement and represents the agreement reached between the parties as part of the collective bargaining process. The Guild has voted and ratified the tentative agreement. Pending council approval, this will be the earliest signing of a successor agreement with this bargaining group in at least 20 years. And I want to take this moment to just thank the Guild's bargaining team and Chief Brown for just great negotiations, congenial, very productive, and being able to get this done into your hands for approval. City Council has been briefed on the proposed changes and provided the complete draft agreement under attorney-client privilege. And I can answer questions of a general nature, but anything specific would need to be addressed in a closed session, as it is a confidential agreement at this point.
Thank you, Director Lund. Councilmember Chang.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the 2025-2027 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Port Orchard and the Police Guild.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Chang, seconded by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Comments, Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
I'd like to echo what Debbie said, except also you were involved, so thank you for that. Chief Brown, thank you for creating a climate that we were able to negotiate this. Again, if the Guild was here, I'd say thank you to them, but I think this is a win-win, both for the city and for staff. So I wholeheartedly will be voting for this collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you, Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Councilmember Trenary.
Well, this time, Councilmember Rosa Pepe stole my words. The Chief, Debbie, great job. It is truly a win-win for all parties. Thank the Guild for us as well. I look forward to moving forward with great public safety for our city in the next couple of years.
Seeing no other hands, I'll just call out a couple of things. I'll echo our thanks to all those involved and to the entire force with the chief. We appreciate you, and we don't get enough opportunities to thank you for all what you do. And maybe just a quick for the public, there are very few things that we do as a council where we meet where people aren't eligible to watch this process. The bargaining of this contract is one of those with our city attorney as well, who's with us virtually this evening. So thank you for that. But just wanted to call that out. That I think we had one meeting on this, and it wasn't super long, so we appreciate it. But one of the very few things that's not done in public. So. If there's no other questions, I will say that you are voting on the approval of the collective bargaining agreement with the Port Orchard Police Guild for 25 through 27. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And the motion carries unanimously. Item 7E, approval of amendment number 1 to the commercial lease agreement number 050-24 with Kitsap County and Pontoon One Investments, LLC. Ms. Archer, our city attorney, this is you.
Thank you so much. Can I be heard?
You can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I've been having audio troubles this afternoon. Before the council this evening is an amendment to the lease that we currently hold for the property known as 730 Prospect Street. You'll recall when this was purchased last year, there was an existing tenant, Kitsap County, and certain aspects of their operations were an existing tenant, and we are in the process of renegotiating that lease for a long-term lease. But in the interim, the city has needs for parking, and this property can serve to fulfill those needs for parking our vehicles. So the mayor has negotiated an amendment to the lease that will allow us to utilize 6 of the parking spaces that were originally designated under the lease for the use by the tenant. And as we negotiate the long-term lease, a long-term resolution with regards to those parking spaces will be negotiated. But this will allow us immediate use. And in reality, we have been using them since January by agreement with the tenant, but this will formalize that agreement. There's no cost associated with this. It is merely the exchange of one aspect of the lease from the tenant to us. There is an indemnification provision that the county asked for, and the lease will be recorded. But otherwise, it is a very bare bones minimal lease associated with those parking stalls. And so I'm happy to take any questions with regards to this.
Councilmember Rosapepe.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to authorize the mayor to execute a lease agreement with Kitsap County for additional parking for city employees at the 730 Prospect Building.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Rosapepe, a second from Councilmember Fenton. Councilmember Rosapepe.
Charlie, just a quick question for my own education, and I couldn't find it when I was looking. Is the reason this is being brought to council is because of the fact that it's a lease? Because since there's no cost, I was curious.
Correct. Yeah, one of the powers the council holds is the lease of any city-owned real property unless it's been delegated. So leases come to you, easements come to you, any sort of property right comes to you.
Okay, the only reason I asked that was because there was no cost associated with that, and
Right.
usually everything else there's a cost somewhat.
Right.
So thank you for the education point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay, you'll be voting on approval of amendment number 1 to the commercial lease number 050-24 with Kitsap County and Pontoon Investments 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. This brings us to our last business item of the evening. Business item F, approval of December 10, 2024 City Council regular meeting minutes. Councilmember Chineri.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the meeting, excuse me, the council member meeting minutes from December 10th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Chineri, a second from Councilmember Rosapepe. Any discussion around the minutes from our December 10 meeting? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. This brings us to Section 8, discussion items, council choice of our required annual training, and I will turn it over to Director Lund.
Thank you. As part of your packet, there is a list of approved courses. As you may recall, our liability carrier, RMSA, has a policy that elected officials and managers must take a 1 hour course every year. You can also meet this requirement by attending some AWC training events. So if you happen to do that, make sure I know and I can give you credit instead of doing the online course, or you can do both. But tonight's up for discussion for you to pick a class. Historically, the council's all chosen the same class. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but I will turn it over to however you want to proceed with that.
All righty. Thank you, Director Lund. So you see the choices in front of you on page 104 and 105 of the packet. Does anybody have any overwhelming desire for any one of these topics? Councilmember Rosapepe.
I will sit this one out and go with whatever the council decides. Several years ago, I suggested...
Did you pick wrong?
I chose wrong.
Yeah.
I chose poorly.
Okay.
And on that note, I'll leave that there. But this time, I will sit this one out and let the other council members decide. But I will be in favor of whatever we choose. You know which one it was, too.
Anybody else have any thoughts or inclinations on which one they'd like to take?
I'm going to do the AWC to get credit that way.
That actually may be more useful.
Yeah, well, so we're going to have to give Director Lund some direction here, so if nobody's got one, I'm going to pick one.
Pick one for us, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, let's just do for fun, discipline and termination. Just because we don't get to play in that role here at council, I'd just be interested to hear what you guys have to deal with. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah,
It's an hour, yeah.
yeah,
1 hour, that's great.
okay. Thank you, Director Lund.
That was tough.
Moving on to number 9, report of council committees. I don't know that we've been super busy, but I know that there was at least one committee that met earlier today in land, I believe it was land use earlier today?
Land use was last week.
Was last week?
Transportation was today.
Okay, I got that wrong. I had a
General-
50-50 chance to get that right, and I got it wrong.
But we got 2 committee reports at least.
Go for it.
For land use, we had a meeting last week. The major topics were, we had a discussion on critical areas that Jim Fisk briefed us at our last work study. More information coming down the road, including outreach and public soliciting public opinion. We had an update on the Sherman Avenue Stormwater Park. Basically, the initial survey has been completed. There'll be more information coming. Please be aware that with that stormwater park, that there is a lot of restricted areas that we won't be able to, so it's going to be kind of an interesting how we do that. I brought up the topic that had been kind of buried a little bit about the possible connection across the way with Ruby Creek. That is way down the road and won't be part of this discussion or design work when it comes to us. So that was just a little bit. And the last one of note was PSE came to us with some ideas about where they wanted to put the electric charging connections. Though we have, I think there's 2 connections that they're going to put into the city. We took a look at various plans, made some recommendations, and they'll be coming back to us. I can't ask Scott to weigh in because he's in Japan, but I will ask Eric to weigh in. Is there anything else I missed?
You didn't miss anything. The connection piece, though, I remember that discussion a year ago on it, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Really good idea, for pedestrian traffic, to get over there. So hopefully one day we can do that. The Stormwater Park, the steering committee, it's going to be Mary and myself. And if you guys have any comments or anything that you'd want to see in a park, it is a water feature, as far as water quality, but it is a park. So if there's something that you guys would want to see in there, please reach out to either one of us. We have a meeting, I believe it's next month.
Towards the end of February.
So if it pops up in your head, or if you have questions of what a stormwater park is,
Yeah.
please hit me up. I have a little bit of experience.
Yeah, the other thing I would recommend is Nick and Jim gave us the survey results, and that would be worth going back to look at. Otherwise, I'll ask to see if they can send us to electronically to everybody. I'll ask Jim to do that. So that's our report. And
Thank
sticking
you.
to it.
Transportation. You got it? Okay.
So we did meet tonight in transportation. We talked about the Bay Street pedestrian pathway eastbound. We are still waiting for approval to move forward from not only the state but the feds for removal of the dilapidated buildings. That is a major concern for the city to get those down as quickly as we possibly can, but we can't start until we get the approvals and the permits approved from both the state and the federal governments. So we're waiting on that, unfortunately. We do have some work we're planning. We're getting ready to start development and, well, I would say design, not development. There's a failing culvert down in Annapolis that we're looking and hoping to go in 28 and 29 to replace that culvert. We talked about State Route 166 right down here, Bay Street, and a 10,000-foot overview of what's going to happen down there. We're at about 60% approval of the design work. I thought it looked really, really good. There hasn't been much changing from what was presented to council the last time we came through. They're just crossing more T's and dotting more I's. So that's an exciting thing that's going on. We saw some streetscape ideas. Councilmember Diener will be really happy about one particular centerline streetscape, because that was something he was pushing for. And we also talked about future agenda items coming up in February. We're going to talk about a little bit more about bicycle signage along Sydney. And I'm very excited to mention that we've included about $100,000 in road maintenance and repairs up on Old Sydney area around the Paul Powers Park. So as you all know, that I'm pretty passionate about keeping our roadways paved and updated, and so that was excitement for me to hear that. So besides that, Councilmember Fenton, am I missing anything out of that?
Oh, it sounds pretty good.
Question? Were you covering, when you're discussing the state work, was that the possible roundabout culvert replacement down there, Portia Boulevard? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Annapolis.
For the Annapolis culvert?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the east side,
Okay.
pathway east. Haven't got to this side yet.
I do have a question on that one, so, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other committees or advisory groups meet since our last meeting? I know both Finance and EDT took January, so looks like we got a full slate coming up here in the short month of February, so many more reports next month. Next up is the report of the mayor. I'm just sitting in his seat. I don't have his report. He didn't send me one, other than I'm letting you know he's at a conference this week, so he's
Yeah,
out.
You have better hair.
I have better hair.
Concur.
And a shorter report.
And a shorter report, yeah, that's for sure.
Shorter hair and
Report of the department heads. We will start here. Director Ryan.
Thank you. Just an update, we're watching the weather. We've been having some cold temperatures. It looks like we are gonna have a transition over the weekend. Our public works crews are prepping all the equipment. It's gonna be loaded, ready to roll. Working with the chief and the police department, we are going to likely activate our EOC on a remote version to start with. If it does become an event, we're gonna be well prepared. I had a question really earlier week from one of you about our snow and ice routes, and it's something that's worth mentioning is that we're continuously looking at our routes. As the city grows, we have to reassess. Sometimes that means that our priority routes get changed, and so it's a balancing act. It's what we can store, what's readily available for materials, and what equipment we have to put things out. I can tell you many storms that have come through that we've ran out of materials, not necessarily here, but you know, I've worked for counties and other cities, and it's something that we have to plan for, and so we establish these routes, but I hope to, by this spring, bring that in front of you. Question?
Quick question, Dennis, is I know we've been putting down a lot of brine right now on the roads, so, I mean, our supply is really pretty good. You know, we've put down a lot.
We're in good shape right now. So we've been doing the preventative pre-treatment. We haven't had much moisture, so it's stuck around, and we do have to touch it up. But that's something that we provide. That's provided by the county through an interlocal agreement, so it's readily available to us. If we got into a week-long major event, that's when we start seeing supply chain issues. Most of the salt, I wanted to be sure before I mentioned about where our salt for our dechlorinization comes from, but our road salt comes from the eastern part of the state, and usually it's imported up from like Utah. So it's not uncommon for agencies to run low, but we also use abrasives, sand, in addition to salt for treating our roads.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm grateful for the work that the team's been doing. I'm also a little bit of a weather nut, just because it helps me go skiing. And I do know that there's the forecast is calling for black ice, and so I think there's going to be some icing events. So I'm glad to hear you're ready to go. Anything else for us, Director Ryan?
I had a question, but I had a couple other items, yes.
Yep.
I emailed asking about a couple roads within McCormick.
Correct.
We're having a staff meeting just to go over possibly adding a few roads to that.
We're evaluating it. I don't know if it would be this year. It's the equipment that we have and what we can put out in a shift. And we're not restricted by regular time when we're pre-treating. This is something we prioritize, but we're at capacity with what we're treating now. So some of our priority ones might become priority twos, and we have to spread our time and our resources to achieve. So it's something I would expect by the spring.
Do you put down the de-icer on the same roads that you plow?
Our de-icing route, which is on our website now, our de-icing route and our plow routes are different. Yeah.
I'll look at it. Thank you.
Yes.
I'll share it. I'll look at it and I'll share it to the people who ask this
Yeah.
question.
It's something we definitely want to engage council when we develop these plans. So, a couple other items. I had some pictures I was going to show. We've talked about Paul Powers Park. We had to wait. I don't know if we can blow that up at all. There we go. So this is the old cyclone fence, which has been ran over by many cars, is gone, and so it's being replaced with a split rail fence. In the background, you can see we have a couple play apparatuses where they didn't have appropriate fall protection, so the containment's going in, wood chips are going to be delivered, and then behind that there used to be some swings that do not meet any standard, and they were in disrepair and broken. We had a digger toy, like a mini excavator that's mounted in the ground, so small children will be able to dig and pea gravel also. So it's looking pretty sharp. I'll have some pictures to update. I think there's a couple other pictures if we can just go real quick here. Sorry.
Update on Charlotte.
Oh, it's looking good. There's another one from another angle. So that's where the digger toy is going to go in there, right there. Yep. And then the basketball hoop, we're getting a new backboard, and that's getting installed. The court's been pressure washed, graffiti's cleaned up. It's looking like a park. So we're happy with the crew's work there.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
the last thing that I had for just an update, so on February 12th, we're going to have some impacts to the city parking lot number 2. We're going to have to close one direction overnight for the generators being delivered from Marina. So our staff is working with the port, our other partners, transit, to let them know that is going to be closed. It's going to be about 12 hours from midnight to the delivery of the apparatus. So,
Have you reached out to the Downtown Association?
that was going to be my next email, so I will get a hold of Sam and
Okay.
let her know.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Director Ryan. Director Lund?
I think you've heard from me enough tonight. I have nothing further. Thanks.
Thank you. Chief Brown?
Yeah, I actually just want to throw a thank you at Debbie, not only for the contract, but she's been putting in a lot of work for us to continue with our hiring process, and we have 2 new officers starting next week. Unfortunately, again, with the long delays in getting people into the academy, plus all the training, they won't be fully on their own until probably end of January. So, but still good news, we're adding bodies.
Have you heard in this legislative session if they're discussing possible training facility
Satellite
on the
training.
peninsula?
I'm aware that they had put some money in the last budget to assess whether or not it would be appropriate to have a training facility out here that would serve our peninsula and the greater Olympic area.
Anything else for Chief Brown? Thank you, sir. Clerk Wallace?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Tim and Council. Just a reminder that if you want to sign up for coffee with the council, to let me know. So I don't really have anybody scheduled for February other than Councilmember Warden spoke up that he would attend that meeting if there are no others. So I got Councilmember Chineri.
That's the
I'll do it if
that's
no one
the
else
first
does it.
Also, isn't it?
This Saturday.
Yeah, I'm out of town.
Yeah, so it's February 1st.
I'm out of town.
I can do it if no one else wants to sign up, yeah.
So Fenton, Warden, and Trenary? Okay.
May I add
And then
that?
just email me if you want, which months you want for the rest of the year.
And to add to that, this month, the school board is going to be joining us. So, as a guest to that as well. So they'll be making themselves, if anyone has questions for the school board, they'll be down there as well, so.
Good idea. Skirt those questions on to someone else. Excellent. Clerk Wallace, anything else?
And then just a small report. I had Janine gather some numbers regarding Facebook and what we post in comparison from 2023 to 2024 to kind of gauge, have we ramped up the notification? Just kind of give us a gauge as to where we need to go in 2025. So for Facebook post in 2023, we did 278 posts. And then in 2024, we did 315. And based on the analytics from 2024 to 2023, we were up by 12.51%. Then they gauge how many interactions we get, which is reached, right? So 2023, we reached 62.8 thousand people. 2024, we reached 182.4 thousand. So more than double, right? Which was 97.553% more people that we reached in 2024 than we did in 2023. As far as the number of followers, in July of 2023, we had approximately 3,000 followers on Facebook. And then March 2024, we had 3,500-ish. And then 2024, 4,096. So we've gained over almost 1,100 followers since July of 2023.
Nice, yeah.
That's what I have to share.
Brandy, on that, do you have any statistics on our YouTube, how many people are assessing our
Not yet, but
various
that'll be
things?
next. And then also our general posts that we do either on the website or press release public notices. That's
I'll wait
to
for
come.
those. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Clerk Wallace. Ms. Archer, our city attorney, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, thank you. So as you know, during the legislative session, our office tracks, as does your lobbyist and the mayor and staff. We're all keeping tabs on what's happening in Olympia. I just wanted to highlight a couple of bills of interest that the mayor and your staff have already contacted the lobbyists on, as they are ones on the AWC docket. At least one of them is. And that one is Senate Bill 5332. There are over 180 sort of land use specific bills. So there's quite a few. And this is just one of many that deal with the topic of land use and density. And this would allow motorhomes or RVs to be used as dwelling units on all residential lots, provided there are utility hookups. So this is one that we're obviously monitoring closely. There's a public records bill that was introduced that is presents a problem for public agencies, or an additional challenge rather. It would create a new cause of action for our current and former employees who seek their personnel files. We would have 21 days to get them their personnel files, and we would face an automatic $500 penalty that would increase to $1,000 if it takes longer than 38 days. So we're monitoring these, we're keeping tabs. I learned today about an additional bill that would essentially allow folks to opt out of the use of radio read meters for utility meter reading purposes, which would essentially invalidate our use of those types of meters. And as you know, the city, as most utilities, have embraced that technology because of its efficiency and the benefits to the consumer. So a lot of interesting ones. Other ones, I'm sort of highlighting the concerning ones. There are great ones out there, I'm sure, but we are keeping close tabs, and I'm always happy to chat about what's going on at the session, as is your lobbyist, as is the mayor. I'm sure were he here, he'd be excited to chat about this as well. So any questions?
You know, Ms. Archer, I just have one because I don't have my personal computer with me because I am mid-email to our legislators down there, specifically around the RV one, knowing my full-time gig. I did notice also that AWC is opposed to those bills, and there's a corresponding Senate bill as well.
Correct.
And then I believe the House had a hearing on that bill in the committee on Monday, but I was flying all day yesterday. So do you know if it came out of committee, if it's moving forward, or?
I do not. I can find that out.
Oh, that's all right. I just thought maybe since you commented on it, you might know, but okay.
Yeah, that's AWC's position, as with most of my public agencies, is simply that that this poses additional challenges for us as a land use regulator. So it looks like it is still in the housing committee,
Okay.
the one that's on the Senate side.
Okay.
It's scheduled for the 31st in the housing committee.
Ms. Fenton.
Well, I thought that was kind of interesting what you said about the meter, because we went with that, but why, can you explain a little bit more if someone wanted to opt out on that, and then how would they just would get a letter in the mail how much, they're using or something? Just, yeah, what is that one all about?
Yeah, I only learned about it today, so I don't have all the details. I also think because it's in its infancy, it's not fully fleshed out in the way that you may need it to be. But my understanding is based on concerns with regards to this particular legislator about radio waves. There's concern about the use of those types of meters and the ability for citizens to opt out, meaning the agency would have to provide, or the utility provider would have to provide, an alternative means of measuring or verifying their meter. This one is not anticipated to go anywhere, but it is concerning given that most agencies across the state use this type of meter, and there's never been any studies to show that there's any concerns with these types of meters. So that's essentially how it would function, is a citizen could request to opt out. But I honestly operationally don't know how that would work, but for it making you have to use two types of meter reading programs. So
Thanks.
yeah.
I'd have large effect on everybody because I know while I still live in the city of Port Orchard, my water comes through the city of Bremerton, and they were out last month and switched out to a radio meter as well. So we're not the only local municipality doing that.
No,
Anything else
most
from
do.
Ms. Archer. Okay, thank you, Ms. Archer.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Moving on to our second citizen comment period. Do we have anyone online wishing to address council? If you do, use the raise your hand feature. Anybody here in the audience this evening wish to address? Nope. Doesn't look like
No.
it. Okay, I'll
No, it's
raise my
yellow.
hand. No. Okay, we will call that to a close. Anything for good of the order tonight, my fellow peers? Ms. Fenton.
Okay. Oh, well, I read in the paper that the Paulsbo mayor is going to go part-time in 2026, which will give Paulsbo the first time for an administrator. And I know we've kind of discussed that amongst ourselves, and so maybe in the near future or something, we can do it at a work study or a retreat and talk about it a little bit more.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Rose Pepe.
I have 3 items. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Lunar New Year, which, as Councilmember Chang informed me, starts tomorrow. So happy New Year. I had a question from a couple of folks about disappearing election signs. And I put them in touch with our code enforcement. That went well. We recently changed our signage code, and so as those come up, please put them in contact with DCD Code Enforcement. They're more happy to answer any questions, and it is on our website because I checked, so people can get that information. But just as the different seasons come and go, it'll be another issue. And as I do every time before the elections, after ballots go out, I encourage everyone to please get their ballot in and vote and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for good? Yeah, Councilmember Chang.
Yeah, The council may remember that we've had inter-county meetings informally, Bainbridge, Bremerton, and Paulsbo. There was one in Bremerton and then one in Bainbridge Island. And it seems to be Port Orchard's turn. So,
Well, there was debate about that last time. Somebody took it over, and there's a whole thing.
I'm
We'd
sorry, I
love.
missed it.
Are you taking up the
No,
banner?
I'm just bringing it up. I
Okay.
don't remember who took it over.
Well,
Paulsbo took it over.
Oh,
They
okay.
have, for our session, there's a council member, I believe, who was maybe a little too pregnant to travel. And so they wanted to host one more time, and that was back in September.
Oh.
So I think we're due to.
Well, we could still let her plan hers, and we could just plan one in March. I mean, is there a problem with that?
I think we
March would
should
be
just
good.
plan one for March anyhow.
No,
Yeah.
we'll just plan it for March, and feel free, and we'll
Yeah,
invite.
we should maybe do a doodle poll and announce it.
Yeah.
Is the Bevco okay? I mean, what sort of venue would you guys want?
Yeah, maybe on the other half of Bevco.
So, who wants to follow up on this?
We could work together if you like.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all
we'll
right,
chat.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And the other thing is, you probably all know that the Pacific Building on Mile Hill opened.
Yep.
Or is opening, I think tomorrow maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, they were moving today, so they're open. And there may be people coming from the Quality in Bremerton who will now be in.
Perfect. You got a chance to tour that facility,
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, it's all bright and shiny and very big. I think the biggest adjustment will be the change in privacy. I can imagine going from like a Quality in room to a shared room with room dividers. I think that would be a big adjustment, but it does accept pets. They have a section for pets, they have a grooming station, and they have 4 kennels where the larger pets could remain during the day. No one's going to actually watch them, but it is a place, and so we know that a lot of people who were unsheltered had pets and were not able to be accommodated. So this is one nice thing, that they will be accommodated in this location.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else for good of the order? Hearing none, we have no executive session this evening, so it is 7:21 p.m. I will call this meeting of the City Council adjourned.
Dang, that's a record.
Recording stopped.
Night.
Ooh, challenge.